I woke to the sound of leaves crunching underfoot, even though I was still tucked away in bed. It was as if the world outside was already moving on without me, leaving me behind in this quiet house that echoed with loneliness. Another day had begun. Another day of my life slipping through my fingers like sand. The autumn air nipped at my nose as I pulled back the curtains, revealing a landscape painted in hues of orange and gold. The trees seemed to be whispering secrets amongst themselves, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. Everything felt so alive, yet here I was frozen inside this empty shell of a life. My husband, Richard, had left early for work again. His absence barely registered anymore. It was like trying to notice the silence after years of listening to white noise. We'd been drifting apart for what felt like an eternity, each lost in our own worlds, too scared or perhaps too tired to reach out and bridge the gap between us. I moved through our home on autopilot, each room a testament to my stagnation. The dishes I washed were always the same ones, the books I read remained unopened for weeks, and the paintings on the walls had long since lost their ability to inspire me. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye as I passed, startling me with its familiarity yet strangeness. Who was this woman staring back at me? Her eyes seemed dull, her skin pale, and lines etched around her mouth suggested a life lived with more sorrow than joy. It wasn't that I had been unhappy, not exactly. More like adrift, untethered from any real sense of purpose or connection. As I walked out onto the porch to collect the newspaper, I noticed something unusual lying on our doorstep. A small wooden carving of a bird, its wings outstretched as if about to take flight. It was intricately detailed, each feather meticulously carved with love and patience. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my palm, wondering who could have left such a beautiful thing behind. For some reason, this tiny object made me feel less alone somehow, as if maybe there was still beauty hidden away in the world, waiting to be discovered even amidst all the emptiness and despair. And perhaps, just perhaps, I too could find my way back towards that light again. But for now, all I knew was that something inside me had shifted ever so slightly, a tiny spark igniting deep within my chest, whispering promises of change. And as I carried the bird carving indoors, cradling it like a secret treasure, I couldn't shake the feeling that today might be different after all. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. A chance to break free from the monotony and find my way back towards a life once lived vibrant, full of passion, and brimming with possibility. The old library was a place I hadn't visited in years. Yet here I found myself, drawn by an inexplicable pull towards its familiar scent of aged paper and dusty tomes. It seemed fitting that the bird carving had led me here, as if guided by some unseen force eager to remind me of simpler times when books were my sanctuary, stories my solace. As I stepped inside, memories washed over me like a gentle tide, whispered conversations with librarians who knew my favorite authors by heart, hours spent curled up in worn leather chairs, losing myself in worlds far removed from my own. But most vividly, I remembered the young man behind the counter, his eyes alight with curiosity and kindness as he recommended books based on nothing more than my fleeting glances at their covers. His name was Samuel, and though we'd only ever exchanged polite smiles and brief words about literature, there had always been something about him that made me feel seen. It wasn't until now, standing before the counter once again, that I realized how much his quiet presence had meant to me back then. "Can I help you find something?" His voice was soft, almost hesitant, as if he too recognized the ghosts of our past hovering between us. I looked up from the bird carving clutched tightly in my hand and found myself drawn into those familiar eyes, warm brown irises flecked with gold, like melted chocolate. They seemed to hold an entire universe of untold stories, beckoning me closer even as I hesitated on the precipice of vulnerability. "I'm not sure," I admitted truthfully, turning the carved bird over in my hands. "I found this outside my door and it made me think of you, of this place." Samuel's gaze followed the movement of my fingers, his expression thoughtful. "It's beautiful," he murmured, reaching out to trace the delicate carving with the tip of his finger. A shiver ran down my spine at his touch, unexpected yet welcome. "Did you make it?" I asked, suddenly needing to know more about this man who had once been a part of my life, and now seemed poised to re-enter it again. He nodded, a faint blush creeping across his cheeks. "I've always found solace in working with wood," he said quietly. "It helps me focus, I guess you could say." As we spoke, I felt the tension inside me begin to ease, each word exchanged like a stepping stone leading me back towards myself. With Samuel, there was no pretension or expectation, only genuine curiosity and warmth, offering me a reprieve from the loneliness that had grown so accustomed to my company. "I've missed this place," I confessed after a moment, glancing around at the towering bookshelves filled with tales waiting to be discovered anew. "I've missed feeling like I belong somewhere." Something in his expression softened then, understanding passing between us without need for further explanation. Because hadn't we both known what it was like to feel adrift, searching for meaning amidst life's vast and ever-changing tides? "Would you like some help finding something to read?" he offered, gesturing towards the maze of books surrounding us. "I could recommend a few titles. Or perhaps we could find something together." His words seemed laden with possibility, each one carrying the potential for rediscovery. Not just of stories long forgotten, but also of the person I used to be, hidden away beneath layers of apathy and despair. And so, with newfound resolve burning within me, I followed Samuel deeper into the heart of the library, ready to explore whatever worlds awaited us there. For in that moment, standing side by side amidst the whispered promises of countless stories yet untold, I knew without a doubt, something had shifted, something had changed. And maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for me after all. The days began to blur together in a whirlwind of shared laughter and whispered conversations as Samuel and I delved deeper into the world of literature that had once been my solace. We spent hours exploring the labyrinthine stacks of the library, each book we discovered together serving as a testament to our growing connection. With every story he recommended, with every tale we shared, I felt myself awakening from the fog that had clouded my life for so long. It was like watching the sun rise after an endless night, colors becoming brighter, sounds more vibrant, emotions more intense than I'd ever remembered feeling before. Yet even as I reveled in this newfound sense of clarity and purpose, a part of me remained anchored to the past, tethered by the weight of unspoken words and unresolved regrets. Richard was still there, a ghostly presence lingering at the edges of my consciousness, his absence more palpable than ever now that someone had finally filled the void within me. One afternoon, as Samuel and I sat side by side on the worn leather couch in the farthest corner of the library, I found myself voicing this inner turmoil aloud. "Do you think it's possible to love two people at once?" I asked softly, tracing the pattern on the armrest with my fingertips. He didn't answer immediately, instead taking his time to consider my question carefully before responding. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle yet firm, as if he understood the delicate nature of our conversation and wanted to tread lightly upon it. "I think love can take many forms," he said at last, choosing his words with care. "And sometimes those forms overlap or intersect in ways we don't expect, or perhaps even want." I nodded, feeling the truth of his words resonate deep within my soul. Because wasn't that exactly what had happened? Somewhere along the way, love had grown roots in two separate places, each one nourishing a different part of me yet both equally essential to my existence. But how do you choose? I wondered aloud, turning to face Samuel, our knees brushing against one another on the narrow couch. How do you decide which path to follow when they both lead towards something true and meaningful? His gaze met mine, steady and unwavering, as he reached out to take my hand in his. The simple act of skin touching skin sent a jolt through me, electrifying every nerve ending and reminding me of the power that still lay dormant between us. "I think," he began slowly, "that sometimes we don't get to choose at all. Sometimes life makes the decision for us, and all we can do is trust that whatever comes next is meant to be." Tears stung my eyes then, unbidden and unwanted, as I grappled with the weight of his words. Because wasn't that what I'd been doing all along? Dancing on the precipice of uncertainty, torn between two worlds, too afraid to let go of one in order to grasp onto the other? Samuel squeezed my hand gently, drawing me back from the brink of despair, and into the warmth of his embrace. "Whatever happens," he murmured, "know that you're not alone. Not anymore." And as I leaned into him, seeking solace in his strength, I realized that maybe, just maybe, he was right. Maybe this was meant to be not just our connection but also the struggle, the uncertainty, the heartache that had brought me here to this moment. Because wasn't every journey towards healing and transformation filled with doubt and fear? And wasn't it only through embracing those emotions head-on that we could hope to emerge victorious on the other side? With newfound determination burning within me, I made a silent vow. Whatever lay ahead, whatever choices I would have to make or sacrifices I would need to endure, I would face them with courage and honesty. And perhaps in doing so, I could finally begin to forge my own path towards redemption and rebirth. But for now, all that mattered was this: the dance of two souls intertwined amidst the whispered promises of countless stories yet untold. For in that moment everything felt possible, and nothing seemed quite as terrifying anymore. The house felt even emptier than usual when I returned home that evening, Richard's absence more noticeable now that my heart was full once again. As I moved through the dimly lit rooms, his absence seemed to echo around me like a ghostly refrain, each empty space a testament to our fractured relationship. We'd been little more than strangers sharing a home for months, maybe even years, yet here we were, still bound together by habit and fear of what might lie beyond this tenuous connection. It wasn't that I wanted to hurt him or cause pain. It was simply that I couldn't continue living a life that felt so utterly hollow and devoid of meaning. As I prepared dinner for one, the phone rang, piercing the silence with its shrill cry. I hesitated before answering, knowing instinctively who would be on the other end of the line. Taking a deep breath, I picked up the receiver and greeted my husband with forced cheerfulness. Richard. There was a pause before he responded, as if taken aback by my uncharacteristic enthusiasm. Monica. What's going on? His voice held an edge of suspicion, wary perhaps of the shift in my demeanor. Nothing, I lied smoothly, turning away from the sink where dishes lay unwashed. I just thought it would be nice to catch up, that's all. Another pause, heavier this time, filled with unspoken words and lingering doubts. Then finally he sighed, resignation weighting his voice. All right then. How have you been? The question was simple enough, yet it felt fraught with danger, like stepping onto thin ice, uncertain whether it would hold my weight or crack beneath me at any moment. I've been better, I admitted truthfully, tracing the edge of the countertop with my fingertips. But things are changing. For the better. This time, there was no mistaking the tension that crackled along the phone line like static electricity before a storm. What do you mean? He demanded, his tone sharpening. I hesitated, weighing the consequences of my words against the need to be honest with him, and with myself. In the end I chose honesty, letting the truth spill out in halting sentences as I struggled to find the right way to express what was happening inside me. I've met someone, I said softly, closing my eyes against the pain I knew those words would cause. Someone who makes me feel alive again. Someone who reminds me of who I used to be. Silence greeted my confession, stretching out so long that I began to wonder if he'd hung up on me, or simply been rendered speechless by my admission. But then, just as I was about to break the silence myself, his voice came again, low and dangerous. What about us, Monica? He asked, each word a knife plunged into my heart. What about the life we've built together? Tears stung my eyes once more, but this time they were not born of joy or relief. Instead, they sprang from guilt and regret, emotions I'd long since grown accustomed to feeling whenever our relationship came under scrutiny. I don't know, I whispered, clutching the phone tightly as if it were a lifeline throwing me back towards shore. I just know that I can't keep living like this. Not anymore. His response was swift and harsh, cutting through my defenses like a blade. Fine, he snapped, bitterness tinging his voice. But don't expect me to wait around while you figure out what it is you really want. And with those parting words the line went dead, leaving me alone once more amidst the echoes of our broken marriage. As I set the phone down on the counter, I realized that somehow, without even realizing it, I had crossed a point of no return. There was no going back now. No pretending that everything was still as it should be. The die had been cast, and all that remained was to face whatever consequences awaited me on the other side. But despite the fear gnawing at my insides, I also felt something else, a quiet sense of determination, steeling me for the battles yet to come. Because now more than ever, I knew exactly what it was I wanted, and who it was I wanted to be. And perhaps in the end, that would be enough to see me through even the darkest nights ahead. Episode 5: The Strength of Surrender. The next morning I woke with a sense of purpose, my mind made up as I lay staring at the ceiling, sunlight streaming through the open curtains. Today was the day I would tell Samuel everything about Richard, about our crumbling marriage, and about the feelings that had grown between us over these past weeks. As I dressed in simple jeans and a sweater, I felt an unexpected sense of calm wash over me. It wasn't denial or avoidance. Rather, it was acceptance. A quiet acknowledgement that whatever happened next would be a part of my journey towards healing and wholeness. When I arrived at the library, Samuel was already waiting for me, his eyes lighting up as he saw me approach through the glass doors. The sight of him sent warmth spreading through me, chasing away any lingering doubts or fears that had clung to me like shadows on the drive over. "Good morning," he greeted me warmly, stepping aside to let me enter before him. "I've been thinking about you all night." A blush crept onto my cheeks at his words, but I didn't look away. Instead, I held his gaze steady and sure. Because today was the day for truth, not cowardice or deceit. "Samuel," I began, taking a deep breath as we walked side by side down the familiar aisles filled with books. "There's something I need to tell you." He paused mid-step, turning towards me with concern etched into his features. "What is it?" he asked softly, reaching out to take my hand in his. I hesitated for just a moment, then forged ahead, knowing that there was no going back now. "My husband, we're separating," I confessed, the words tumbling out like stones released from their moorings. "I've told him how I feel about you, about us, and he didn't take it well." Samuel's grip on my hand tightened slightly, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my knuckles as if to soothe away the tension that had crept into my muscles. "And how do you feel?" he asked quietly, searching my face for answers hidden within its lines and curves. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to meet his gaze head-on. "Scared," I admitted truthfully, "but also hopeful. Because being with you makes me feel alive again, Samuel, like I've finally woken up after years of sleepwalking through life." A slow smile spread across his face then, transforming him from simply handsome to breathtakingly beautiful in its intensity. "I know exactly what you mean," he murmured, pulling me closer until our bodies pressed together, hearts beating in sync. For a moment we stood there amidst the towering shelves filled with stories yet untold, lost in one another's embrace as if nothing else mattered. Not the crumbling of my marriage nor the uncertainty that lay ahead. Because perhaps for now that was all any of us could ask for. A brief respite from the storm, a moment to catch our breath before stepping back out into the world. But even as I reveled in the warmth of Samuel's arms around me, I knew that this interlude would not last forever. Sooner or later, reality would come knocking at our door, demanding to be let inside so that we could face it together. And so, with newfound resolve burning within me, I took a deep breath and stepped back from our embrace, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited us on the path towards healing and redemption. "Will you help me?" I asked him, my voice barely above a whisper. "Help me navigate this transition?" His answer was immediate, his eyes shining with unshed tears as he nodded solemnly. "Of course," he promised. "I'll be here for you every step of the way." As we continued on our journey through the labyrinthine stacks, hand in hand and hearts intertwined, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude wash over me. Gratitude for this man who had shown me what it meant to truly live again, and gratitude for the chance to start anew even amidst the wreckage of my past. Because now more than ever, I knew without a doubt that no matter how dark or daunting the road ahead might be, I would face it head-on with courage and determination, and perhaps, just maybe, love would see me through even the toughest times. The days turned into weeks as Richard and I navigated the treacherous waters of separation and divorce, each step forward fraught with emotion and uncertainty. Yet amidst the chaos, there was a strange sense of peace knowing that this was what needed to happen for both our sakes. Samuel stood by me throughout it all, his quiet strength an anchor in the stormy seas of change. We spent countless hours together, lost in conversations that spanned generations and continents, exploring each other's minds as deeply as we explored one another's bodies. With him I felt seen, truly seen, in a way I'd never experienced before. One crisp autumn morning, as I sat on the porch steps watching leaves tumble down from the trees like confetti, Samuel joined me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders and pulling me close. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he murmured, gesturing towards the golden canopy above us. I leaned into him, sighing contentedly as I rested my head on his shoulder. "Yes," I agreed softly, like nature's way of saying goodbye to one phase and hello to another. He nodded thoughtfully, tracing patterns on my arm with his fingertips. Do you think we could start something new together too? He asked tentatively, as if afraid that speaking the words aloud might shatter the fragile dream they held. I turned to face him then, cupping his cheek in my hand and searching those warm brown eyes for any hint of doubt or hesitation. But all I found was hope, bright and burning like a star on the horizon, guiding us towards safer shores. Yes, I whispered, smiling through unshed tears. Yes, I think we can. As we sat there beneath the golden canopy, our fingers intertwined and hearts beating as one, I felt something shift deep within me. A final letting go of the past and an eager embrace of all that lay ahead. Because despite the uncertainty and fear that still lingered, I knew without a shadow of doubt that this was where I belonged. Here with Samuel, ready to face whatever challenges life might throw our way. The days turned into months, and soon enough winter's chill gave way to spring's gentle touch. Richard and I finalized our divorce, both walking away with heavier hearts but lighter steps, freed from the prison of a relationship that no longer served either of us. Meanwhile, Samuel and I moved in together, filling each other's lives with laughter and love as we built a home filled with warmth and promise. We spent countless hours restoring the old boathouse, our hands working side by side to repair and renew its weathered timbers until it shone like new again, a testament to our own rebirth. One afternoon, as sunlight danced on the water's surface and birds sang from their nests high above, Samuel took my hand and led me down to the lake's edge. There he knelt before me, a small velvet box clutched tightly in his palm. "Monica," he began, his voice steady despite the emotion shining in his eyes. "You've shown me what it means to truly live, to embrace each day with joy and gratitude. I want to spend every single one of those days by your side. As my partner, my lover, my best friend. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my cheeks as I nodded, unable to find the words to express the depth of happiness that welled up inside me. "Yes," I whispered, holding out my hand so he could slide the ring onto my finger, a symbol of our love and commitment, forged anew in the fires of change. As we stood there on the shore, our hearts intertwined in futures bright with promise, I knew that this was it. The dawn of new beginnings, the start of something beautiful and true. And together, hand in hand, we would face whatever adventures lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that no matter what challenges came our way, we could weather any storm as long as we were together. Because sometimes all you need is a second chance at love. And the courage to take it.